Hello everybody, my name is RuxNHD and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at Discord and Discord.js and how you can make a bot in Discord.js and all of the cool things about Discord and Discord.js. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to tell you basically in this video how to create a Discord.js bot and how to create the application to correspond with that, and then just in general how to get some basic things going that you will need in order for future episodes. If you already know this stuff and you just want to know how to code, then you can probably skip this video. However, if you don't know, then this is a great place to learn that. So let's get started. Okay, right, so once you're here, we can go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to want to do is create a folder. We're going to call it Discord bot. Yeah, I'll do Discord bot. And we're going to want to open up the command prompt, and we're going to cd into this thing. You can also be really cool and just do open with PowerShell or CMD by hitting shift and right click, and then click this one here, or CMD or whatever it comes up with. And we're going to want to do a couple of things. First thing we're going to want to do is do npm init. Npm init will allow us to basically put in some basic information into the package.json file, which then will allow us to easily add dependencies as and when are required. So the first thing we're going to do is give it a name. We'll call it, I'm going to call this thing, we're going to call it, definitely not copying Aegis. We're just going to call it Aegis. Sure. Oh, cannot contain capital letters. Okay. Aegis bot. Aegis bot. That'll do. Version 1.0.0. Description. A Discord bot. A Discord bot. Entry point don't need. Test command don't need. Git repository don't need yet. Keywords don't need. Author RuxNHD. Put in your name. License ISC will do. Yes, this is okay. And it will create our package.json file. We can go ahead and open this. I've got VS Code installed. I do recommend getting something like VS Code or Atom. They are very useful. Okay, right, so we have our text editor open. We can go ahead and delete scripts, it's not really needed. And we can go ahead and save this. Thank you, GeForce. It's really good to know. I'm just going to close my other bot things here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to... No, I don't want to add a new folder. Let's go ahead and add a folder to the workspace, and we're going to go to our desktop. We're going to go to Discord bot and add. This will add our workspace folder, I guess, like sort of the directory that we created, the Discord bot directory, into Visual Studio Code. I think there's a way of doing it on Atom. I won't show you how to do Atom. It's pretty much the same sort of stuff, really. I just use VS Code because it's more lightweight. And it looks nice. Oh, Atom looks nice as well, so, you know, it's up to you. The other thing we're going to want to do before we start off here is we're going to want to go back into our command prompt. Right, we're going to want to install npm install discord.js, and what this does is it pulls the discord.js files from the node package manager. You can also find the same files by going to npm js I think it's .com, and then you can search that one. It loads. You can search for discord.js. This one. And this basically gets all the files from this place and drops it very neatly into here. Okay, so once we have that, we can go ahead and get started with coding the bot, I guess. It's pretty straightforward. You know, you want to get some basic files in. I guess one thing we should do before we start actually getting into the nitty-gritty is if I go here, I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call it config.json. Now, config.json is going to be a very useful file. It's going to allow us to essentially control certain bot features from startup. So all JSON config. I'm assuming in this series, before I start, I'm assuming in this series you have a very basic understanding of how JavaScript works. If you don't, I recommend you go and look at some very quick videos, you know, like Code Academy or whatever. I think it's still called that, for basic tutorials and that sort of stuff. You can also find YouTube tutorials and look at the documentation on Mozilla Developer or whatever it's called. This is just a very basic stuff you should know. So we're going to go ahead and create a couple of config variables. We're going to call this one prefix. Prefix is always a good one. And we're going to set our prefix to something which nobody else uses, which probably everybody uses. We're going to just call this a exclamation mark. Now, the thing with prefixes is if a different bot has the same config, then you'll sort of get mixed up. So if you have two bots on your server, they both use the exclamation point as their prefix, one will try and fire the other one's command. So you want to try and avoid that, and the way to avoid that is basically just using a different prefix, or you can set it to mention the bot to activate the command, pretty much. We might cover that at some point. Prefix, I'm going to get owner ID, and I'm going to get my owner ID by going into our test server, which I've already created. I'm going to move up to the top. So we have a test server. This is my bot that I actually have. Of course, this is all like very kind of advanced stuff. We will get into configuration and stuff because it is a very big point. I'm just going to call this YouTube test shithole. I'll do. YouTube test shithole. Okay, right. What we're going to do is we're going to say hi in chat, and then we're going to right click on our name, or you can also do it from here, I guess. Right click on our name and copy ID. We're going to paste it in there, and that is your user ID as a snowflake, what Discord calls a snowflake, and that is essentially a unique ID that is just for you. There are also snowflakes for channels, category channels, servers, and there's also roles, but I don't have any roles set up on this. Oh, I do actually have shade, but I don't think it's mentionable. No, it's not. Okay. We do have snowflakes for pretty much every sort of thing you can create, I guess. Message IDs, stuff like that. Okay, is there anything else we need to put in config? Shut up, man. Very professional, very professional. We do it right here, first time on the VarxNHD channel. I don't think there's anything else we really need to include at this point. We can always go ahead and edit this file again. If you don't have this, I'm going through this quite fast just to get the runtime down a little bit, but if you don't have this copy ID thing here, you can go to user settings, and then I believe it's under appearance. Yes, appearance in the user settings, just down here, right there, and then developer mode, you want to toggle this on, and that will basically just allow you to, I'm going to turn up the chat scaling, I guess, or the window scaling, just so you guys can see. I don't really have it that high up because I actually like seeing shit, and I have good eyesight, but I mean, this is YouTube videos, you probably don't. Okay, so we have a guy here saying hi, you saying hi, and then you can just right click and copy ID. You can also copy ID from the message, either from doing that here or by right clicking on the text. Make sure you don't right click on the text if you want the ID of the user, and if you don't want the ID of the user and you want the text, you have to click on the actual text, right click on the actual text. So there's another thing we're going to want to do, and that is come to this page right here. So this is discordapp.com/developers. Then you want to go to, of course, sign in. Then you want to go to My Apps. I'm not going to click on it because I'll probably have to put in some authentication codes again. And then we're going to click New App. Once you click New App, we can go ahead and give it a name. So I'm going to call it Aegis. I think it's spelled like that, right? Oh, God. I did spell it like that, right? AGEIS. Yes. Aegis bot. We can go ahead and give it a profile picture. I'm going to see if I can find a profile picture. Omega lol, that'll do. So this is our beautiful bot. You know, you can actually make it something sensible. I might do that in the future. And you don't have to give it a description. I'm just going to call it a cool bot for YouTube. That'll do. And building the new Suite app. Lovely, thank you. And this is your bot thing. So of course you have secret stuff. You have all the client sort of stuff. And what you're going to want to do is come down here. Now it says bot. You're going to want to create, bundle a bot user with your app to integrate with users in a more conventional manner, or conversational manner, both I guess are true. And what you're going to want to do is create a bot user. Yes, do it. If you want anybody to be able to add this bot, you can go ahead and tick public bot. I'm going to leave it as private for now. I might release the actual bot to be able to add it at a later date. I'll definitely release the source code at the end of each episode. Also, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to... I guess that's pretty much it. You don't really need to get off to code grants and stuff. Just make sure you save. And that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to go ahead and... oh yes, you will need the token. So this is the username, aegisbot6651. That'll be the username of the bot user that joins your channel when you invite it, or your guild when you invite it. And you're going to want to find your token here. Click to reveal. I'm just going to blur this out, and I'm going to go ahead and copy that. I mean, it doesn't really matter, to be fair. I can probably release this at some point, but you know, whatever. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to config.json. I'm going to create a new line. I'm going to call this our token, and I'm going to go ahead and paste in the token just in this section here. We can go ahead and save that now. We're also going to want to create one more file, and this will be the actual bot file. So we're going to call this aegis.js. Now you can call it bot.js or whatever you want, really. It doesn't really matter too much. And this is what will eventually become basically the main point for all of your bot stuff. So the first thing we're going to want to do is, I believe, set up the bot so it actually logs in properly. Okay, so there are two things you're going to want to add, and they are the following. You're going to want to var discord equals require discord.js in parentheses, and this essentially requires the files that we pulled in from earlier, the discord.js files. So all of these files are now required to be to make the bot operational. What we're also going to want to do is make a new var client. You can also rename this to bot. A lot of people like to prefer bots instead of clients, but we're going to call this client, and we want to instantiate a new Discord client. Essentially, what that does is that calls the Discord API to create I guess client user based on the Discord JS requirement here. Pretty much, it's in layman's terms. That's basically what that does. Okay, so we can go ahead and say client.login, and we want to paste our token. But luckily, we have our config.json file with our lovely token in here. So what we're going to want to do is just say config.token. Now, of course, we haven't required config.token, so you can go ahead and say var config equals require config.json. Essentially, what requiring config.json will do is it requires this specific file. If you're requiring config or any other file that isn't in your base file, you're going to want to make sure you go back to the root directory by doing so, like so. There we go. But that doesn't matter because we're in the root file, so it's all good, or the root directory, so it's all good. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of things now. We're going to say client. We're going to create our first event. So we're going to say client.on. We're going to say our event is ready. And I believe we can just use an arrow function and go like that. We need a comma in there, I think. No, okay. Yes, of course, we need the parentheses in there as well. So client.on ready with a just blank parentheses, as there are no arguments for this arrow function. We have an arrow function right here, which leads into the actual code. We could say client, or rather console.log aegis I keep spelling it wrong. I always get it wrong. A-G-E-I-S. A-G-E-I-S? Yes, A-G-E-I-S. I will one day get used to spelling that correctly. Loaded. We can also go ahead and console log the, let's say we want to console log the prefix. Like so. Excuse me. So we have console.log prefix and console.log aegis loaded. This doesn't really do anything, it just lets us know that when we start the bot that everything is running smoothly. What we can do next is we can go ahead and start the next event, and we're going to want to do client.on message with, we're sending the message object, or the message variable here into the function, and we're going to say, you know what, I'm going to call this MSG, just to make things a little bit shorter. MSG dot. Okay, right. So essentially, what we're going to do next is we're going to create our first command. This is going to be a very basic command. It's just going to teach you, like, essentially how to get Discord bots responding to your whim. Okay, so we're going to do if msg.content double equals, and we're going to say ping. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to say msg.channel send pong. Okay, so essentially what this does is when the client detects that a message has been sent, it'll check that if the message content, this is the content, what's the right word? Attribute, the content attribute, I guess, for the message, which we've thrown into here. If that content is equal to just ping, then we can go ahead and message.channel. Message.channel is the channel that the message was sent in, and then .send will allow us to send a message in that channel. So we get the message, we get the channel the message was sent in, and then we send a new message into that channel. Now the new message here is going to be pong, and we can go ahead and save that. Now there are a couple of things you want to do to invite your bots. So there is a cool website, kellybot.xyz/permissions, and this essentially will calculate the permissions for you and generate a link. So we're going to want a couple of things. Firstly, we're going to want a ID, or an ID, I guess. So we're going to go ahead and get our client ID right there, which is this one at the top right. Just drop it in there. I'm going to give it administrator permissions, and there are no anything else really, no code grants we want, and this will essentially just generate a link for us. So this link, when we click it, will load this page. Now when you've got something like this, you're going to want to find the bot that you made. So mine's called Bomb Crater. I'm going to basically we'll say the permissions right here. If you've given it other permissions, they'll show up, and then of course you can just check over them, make sure they're all right. Unfortunately, it cannot record mixtapes, but you know, we can make it do that. And we're going to want to click authorize. Once it's authorized, we can go ahead and say I'm not a robot. It believes me, and it's all now authorized. We can go ahead and go into our channel, and we have our bot that's just been added. Awesome. You can go ahead and see that aegisbot has indeed been added, and this is my bot now logging and saying this is good. I'll teach you how to do all of these logging things later on. Okay, now the last thing that's left to do is go ahead and actually launch the bot. So we're going to want to get our command prompt up. We're going to go and say node, what do we call it? Node aegis.js. Cannot find module. Oh no. Oh no. Cannot find module. It's right there. Okay, there we go. So you will need to actually set the root directory right here if you do ./config.json. I'll put an amendment back, so you probably would have already seen me say this, or at least in an annotation, but yeah, you have to do that. So now we have our bot loaded. We can go ahead and go back into the server, and as you can see, aegisbot has officially been loaded. It's all up and running. Now we can go ahead and say ping, and it will reply pong. Now as you can see, we didn't actually set our prefix. The last thing I'm going to do in this episode go back here. I'm going to go and set a return condition. Now, if our message.content.starts with, we've already got it in a thing, so we can go ahead and do config.prefix. And of course, we can also set this to not. So if it does not start with the prefix, return. And the last thing, I said the last thing, but the last thing we're going to want to do here is I'm going to actually put this in backticks, and I'm going to say, going to create a new, or not really a new thing, but a cool thing. We're going to put config.prefix inside here. Delete this out of here. Shut up. And we're going to say prefix that. So what this is an interpolated string. Now, an interpolated string essentially allows you to put data inside of a string, which has to use backticks. By the way, you cannot use quotation marks or the other ones, just speech marks, or whatever they're called. So these things, you can't use those things, and you can't use those things. You have to use these things here, essentially. So interpolated strings are pretty cool. You can drop something inside a variable inside of a string, and it will work just fine. Save that. I'm going to want to hit Control and C to break us out of that, and then I'm going to just hit up again, node aegis.js. So we'll load out. As you can see, we've got prefix has loaded in here. Go into Discord, and if I say ping, it will not reply. I have to say a !ping. Okay. So once we've done this part here, this will not work. So there's another way around this, I believe. If we set, go back. If we essentially set the prefix to actually be its own variable, so we'll say var prefix equals config prefix. I'm going to say prefix plus pong, or ping in this case. However, what I'm going to do is use interpolated strings, and I'm going to say, drop that in there. We're going to say prefix, prefix plus, we don't actually need to have a plus, so we'll just say ping here, I believe. Go ahead and restart the bot, and a ping. Yes, there we go. So, pay no attention to this. Essentially, it was a bit confusing, I understand, so we'll go through it again. So on the message, we have to set the prefix up. I'm actually going to move this up here, and then get rid of this config here. So what we've done here essentially is, if the message content starts with prefix followed by ping, another way of looking at this would be prefix variable plus ping, like that. That's essentially the same as what this is. And then we're going to go ahead and send the word, or the message pong in chat. We can do this again. We'll say else if, and we actually need to give this conditions. We'll say message.content double equals prefix, and we'll say hello. It's going to say message.channel send world. Restart the bots. Go into Discord. Was it capitalized? I believe I said it's capitalized. No, I did not. Wonderful. A hello, and it will say world. So you have ping pong and hello world. Wonderful. So that's going to wrap it up for the first episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully this wasn't too hard to understand. Any amendments will be, chopped in as and when I can. Apart from that, guys, I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. And apart from that, thank you very much. Adios.